the board meeting. We're now going to be calling the September 17th Lane Community College Board of Education work session. Will now be called to order. Nicole, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Do we have Kevin Altucker?
Here.
Austin Fulnagi?
Here.
Amelia Hampton?
Here.
Jesse Maldonado?
Here.
Steve Mittal?
Here.
Zach Mulholland?
Here.
Jerry Rust?
Here.
And Julie Weisman?
Excellent. Thank you for that. We'll now be moving on to the land recognition. The land recognition speaker for this meeting will be Brent Munoz. And Brent, please provide the land recognition.
Yep. I'd like to start our meeting with the acknowledgement that the land we are on is the traditional homelands of the Kalapuya people. The Kalapuya were stewards of this very land for over 14,000 years before their traditional way of life was forever disrupted. We start our meeting with humility and reverence for the original inhabitants, the Kalapuya.
Thank you for that. We'll now be moving on to the adoption of the agenda. We'll need a motion in a second for the adoption of the agenda.
I so move.
And do we have a second?
Second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. I just wanted to recognize the equity lens. This is obviously an important thing for all of us to consider on a regular basis, especially in these meetings. The question that I would love for us to consider in the equity lens, does policy, programs, practices, and decision ignore or worsen existing disparities or produce other unintended consequences? As I always want to encourage that we read through these equity lens questions and considerations and so forth, and I just wanted to bring this one up as well. So we now move on to responses to information requests. Any questions, comments, or concerns in regards to the information requests? Jerry, if you wouldn't mind, I have a good view of the room, but if I miss someone, please just gain my attention, okay?
Yeah. President.
All right.
Yeah, just want to say to Chair Fulnagi and the board that we have received several questions, and some of those questions have been answered in the responses to information requests that you see today. Several of them have not been answered yet, and it's just a matter of time. We need more time for to respond to those questions, and we're working on them. We'll have the next 2 weeks to do that, and anticipate having all of those questions answered by September 30th, which is the first regular meeting that we would have had in October.
All right, perfect. Thank you for that clarification. Any further comments, questions?
That's very helpful. There were some questions I was hoping to have answered for tonight's discussion. So it'll be good to have that before the next meeting. Thank you.
Perfect. Any other questions or comments? All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to the discussion items. The first discussion item is the president's goals. President Bulger, would you like to present on this?
Yes, I would. I wonder if we can bring up the slide deck. Do you have a slide deck for this? We have talked about, just to remind the board, that we've talked about the president's goals. We did that at the July 19th retreat. I just want to start, and I also was going to do this at the September 3rd meeting, and that didn't occur. We actually moved this discussion here to this work session. I just want to start by saying that I take really quite seriously the time that we're in. And the president's goals feel a little bit different to me, even though these are the same goals with some different priorities than I've had in my first 3 years. It feels very, very different. First, the external environment feels different. There are shifting funding models at the state and the federal levels. We've got technology advancements that are so rapid that we would be remiss if we ignored them. And there are rising costs, which everyone knows on the board and in the audience as well. And I balance that, though, with some resilience factors at the college, right, and in the community at the same time. We've got our people. We've got some incredibly talented people, our faculty, classified professionals, managers. And I would really call out the people I work most closely with, who are the cabinet and my executives, who are incredibly dedicated and committed to this institution. We've got a community across Lane County that keeps coming to Lane. We see them every day. The students are coming in the door. But there are many, many people who we need to serve and that we have not been able to serve as of yet. We also have phenomenal community support. In a community of this size, I think it's a gift. It's an incredible gift, and we should be grateful for it. So all of this has led me to these particular goals and agreements that we have talked about. And so I will go to slide 3 and talk about some of the agreements that we started to have a conversation about in July. And so from my perspective, we agreed to what Lane must accomplish. And you'll see that on the screen. I'm not going to read it to you. I know you've had this document and probably have taken a look at it. And we've also agreed what Lane should be known for. And from our perspective, these are differentiators. It's the next slide, please. These are differentiators for Lane Community College. So, we have 1,100, 1,300 or so community colleges in the country. We're all fairly different. What we have been working on at Lane is what differentiates Lane from other community colleges. Why would people come to this community college as opposed to, say, some others? And so it's that first bullet. It's that Lane is positioning itself to be the workforce and talent development hub of Lane County and beyond. Experiential learning would be a hallmark here at the institution. We continue to be a trusted partner to K-12 universities and industry. We would foster psychological safety at this college and take a human-centered approach to artificial intelligence, and also make the students' first experience top of mind. Next slide. This slide is about us remembering to focus on why we're here, which is about our students. And so doing more of student success initiatives and what's listed there. Doing less of efforts that are not directly tied to student success outcomes, and doing differently student pathways and faster adaptation to workforce readiness needs. Next slide. So what you're going to see in my goals, I'll call them priorities, which are those bullets, is that we want to focus on these areas. And we want to focus on those with some concerted effort, because if we don't have some concerted effort within the context that I talked about a little bit earlier, we're going to miss the mark. We're not going to be able to serve as many people as we could serve, and we will not have what the board has been sharing with me that it wants. Goal 2 is about managed enrollment growth. You've seen these before. I shared these, the same ones on July 19th as well. This is goal 2, managed enrollment growth. And then goal 3 is institutional climate. I'm going to check in about the slide that we're on. What number slide are we on right now? 8. Wonderful. Okay, so
Goal 3.
Yes, thanks so much. Slide 9 is this is the evaluation framework for the board. The board typically has an evaluation framework. We've been doing this for the last couple of years or so, where the board is very, very clear about how it will evaluate me. And then that means I am very, very clear about how the board will evaluate me. The board evaluates me basically on evidence, targets, success outcomes, innovation metrics, and it does that through quarterly updates and other kinds of updates and periodic reports in board meetings. What I've shared with you is a document which you have in your packet here, and it is a document that looks like this. It's double-sided. It's just 2 pages. It was also in the board packet. It's called the Presidential Goals and Evaluation Framework for this year. It not only lists the measures and the targets for each of these goals, but it also mentions the standards. And the standards, as I can recall the board to these standards, and those standards are from a document called Competencies of Community College Leaders. And there's a section on CEOs. And you might remember Vince Adams from OSBA actually walking us through that and helping us with that. The board evaluation section of this document is really important because this is how the board would evaluate me at the end of the year. And as the board knows, it's so important for the president and the board to be clear on how the president is going to be evaluated. It's in board policy, so that we can agree on this direction. And then I have basically the green light and the authority to move forward. So slide 11, do I have a slide 11? There we go. Here's what I'm going to ask of the board, because these are the three things that that we've been emphasizing. When I came into the college 3 years ago, I said we're going to have 3 goals. They're going to be the same goals for a number of years. They're about the strengthening the fiscal condition, strengthening the enrollment, and improving the institutional climate. And because it's all about the people. And so that's what where we're still headed and how we want to move forward. To do that, there are some things that I'm going to ask of the board, and I want to share that with you now. What I'd like for you to do is consider approving my goals at the September 30th meeting. Approving my goals at the September 30th meeting. And accepting them this evening. And this is where we can have discussion about these goals, and we can go back in the document so that you can see them, and you have it in front of you as well. Because of the intensity of the moment, it's an incredibly intense moment that's happening right now. And the people that you see in front of you, our faculty and our administrators, and those that you don't see, are working incredibly hard. I'm going to ask you to move from 11 work sessions to 6. Currently, we meet twice a month, and our work session meetings feel like regular meetings in a lot of ways. I'm going to ask you to move from 11 sessions to 6. And that will support the well-being of our employees who are going to do this heavy lifting, all of this work. And then I'm going to ask you also to support me and you so that we're working as in a partnership here. We have different roles to play, and I want to give you a sense of what support looks like if you support me. That's together that we keep our focus on what these priorities are. We keep our focus on that you stand with me in the vision that we have for Lane. The several-year vision, because it's going to take some time to realize the vision, and that you help me carry Lane's message into the community in a strong way, but you help me do that. What it also looks like is having confidence in me and the institution, clarity, your clarity with me so that I can be clear with the college, consistency, minimizing distractions, and fidelity. And so with that, this statement right here actually comes from the president's report that I shared with the board and the college community and the external community on September 3rd. And I thought that this is actually the quote. If we could work together in this way on these priorities, then I think you're going to be incredibly proud of the institution. I feel that I'm the person to lead the institution through some really challenging waters over the next few years, and I'd like for you to have your support. With that, I will open it up for questions.
I have a question.
Austin, you are muted.
Austin.
Yeah. My apologies on that. Thank you so much, Julie. Who I saw was Julie had her hand up first. Jerry, I know you would like to speak. Was there anybody else in the room?
You got Kevin, and then I'll raise my hand.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. We'll start with Julie, and then we'll go to Jerry, then Kevin. Julie, go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation. I read through your goals and also the other sheet that you provided, what did you call it? Your framework. And I like the way that it was set up. I can support those. So I'll give you that support on your one question. I do have a question for the chair. Can we add the president's goals to the agenda for the next meeting? So as she asked for approval, can we at least add that piece to the agenda so we can make a motion since we can't do it here?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Mhm.
So that was my one question. Can we do that, please? And focusing on the priorities, I think that, kind of like how we kind of read into the equity lens as a reminder every time. I think that maybe when you present a really nice board report during our meetings, that maybe there's a way to kind of bring those front and center as a reminder of the priorities and frame your report around it as kind of a way to drive it home so that we have something to pick up and carry with us. The same with the vision, I'd like to really get a clear vision so that I can talk about that, when people going, how's it going? And so, yeah, I think I can align with all the rest of it. And I thank you. Thank you very much.
Of course. Yes. And part of this process is to move this after discussion, move this to the September 30th meeting. Yeah, Jerry, you're next.
On the institutional climate and the Gallup Climate Survey, mean score 3.86, going up to 4 in 2027. What is that getting at the faculty morale and raising that, and is that what that one's getting at?
It is for all our employees, and I'll ask Shane Turner to come up and give some context to that for you, Trustee Rust, as a new board member.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your question is really on point, Trustee Rust. It is a measure of employee engagement, and our goal for this year was exceeded, and so we would have been very close to what was our goal for next year. So we moved it out a little bit further to continue to push harder and increase those scores across the campus.
And translating that into percentages in the Gallup poll, how does that translate? In other words, well, I don't know what the 3.8 means, 3.86.
So it's a Likert scale, score from 1 to 5, and so the 3.86 is moving to a 4. It's above the mid range and into the upper quartile.
And that's where we are now?
That's where we're headed. That's where we want to be, right? 3.86 is where we're setting as a goal. I think we're at 3.71 right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Could I just follow up and ask, could you give us any indicators on how you achieve a higher score?
Sure. So there are a host of things that we do. We have departmental work that is done at each department manager has access to a report for their own staff, and they work through that report with their staff and create departmental action plans. This last year, we had 100% participation with departmental action plans. That's a goal again for this year, where the staff themselves are identifying these are the things that we want to work on, and let's create a plan to move forward on those. In addition to that, we had cabinet level goals on 2 items. One was about having the resources we need to be able to do our best work. We're requiring that all departments have conversations with their staff about those things, especially in a resource constrained environment that we have. It's going to be really important that we're making those investments in the places that people most need them. The other thing that we're having folks talk about at 100% level on the institution wide basis is I feel like I'm respected at work. That according to the Gallup experts, is something that's a key indicator for moving the scores forward. So if I feel like I'm being respected at work, then I'm more invested in the success of the institution. Conversely, if I don't feel respected, then I'm not going to be really connected to the work that's happening there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Next, we have Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, President Bolger, for your presentation. I appreciate the work that has gone into creating these goals for the next year, and I appreciate the continuity that we see from previous years. So that is making it so we can kind of compare apples to apples. I appreciate that. I appreciate the statement of, well, what LCC should be known for. And so there was a list of characteristics that caught my eye. And I especially appreciate the recognition that what has worked in the past will need to be kind of readjusted, recalibrated, retooled a little bit to address the flurry of challenges that are facing the college and will face the college in the future. So I appreciated that aspect of your report, and that you have kept your goals student-centered and student-focused. And so as you make the decisions to address the challenges facing the college, you are keeping students in the forefront. And as a fellow educator, I appreciate that. I do have a concern about the measures and targets, specifically under the fiscal conditions. So I'm concerned that, not that I don't have an issue with the content of that bulleted list, but what I'm concerned is that it's possible that the board might not support you in making the necessary operational decisions, which would then affect your ability to meet these specific targets. So that's a concern. I'm fully prepared to accept these goals tonight, and I look forward to approving them at the September 30th meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. I have Zach, then Jesse, and just to clarify, Julie, I think I saw a hand up, but I didn't know if it was a previous hand or not. Did you have your hand up for a second round?
It was previous.
Thank you so much for the clarification. So next we have Zach and Jesse, and we'll proceed from there. Zach?
Thank you for the presentation. I think overall, I'm very happy with the goals that have been presented. I think they build on what we did last year. I appreciate the specific metrics. I think that it keeps us at the 30,000 foot level, but also allows us to hone in on a couple of key areas. So I really appreciate that we're going to be looking at the disaggregated data for student outcomes, getting a better wrap or a better sense of our deferred maintenance plan and what we're going to be doing over the long term to invest in our deferred maintenance. as well as the deficit reduction in the sub accounts. I think is another one of the sub areas that is teed up for us to focus on this year. I really appreciate that. Similarly, the climate survey, I'm happy to see the success we've been seeing with improvements there, and look forward to continuing our success to move from where we were to where we want to be, and appreciate the very positive results we've seen thus far. One question I had was with regards to the financials, was where the composite financial index fits into our goals. I think we were supposed to receive a CFI that the state was producing at some point. Can you let us know what the status of that is, and how the CFI might fit into our goals and our evaluation framework?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'll ask Kara. Kara, you're here. The CFI report from the state, from the Higher Education Coordinating Commission, I don't believe is out just yet. I don't think I've seen the final report. Maybe I have, I'm not sure, but I don't think I have seen that final report. The CFI is an indicator of certain kinds of health. When the state, so I brought that to Lane, and we had a CFI done that first year I was here. It was done the second year, and now we're here kind of in the third year timeframe. And so the state decided that they were going to do the same thing that they were doing for the universities, the public universities in the state, with the community colleges. And so we were waiting to make sure that we were part of that. The model is a little bit different in how the state is doing that work and has done that work. That work, my understanding, is complete, but I'm not sure the report is out yet. I'll get Kara to talk about that.
Yes, thank you for the question, and it's a good question. The CFI report that the state is working on is being reviewed by the HEC. I think it is tentatively in their court. They're going to finalize it. They did a preliminary review of it. It does have back to, I believe, 2019, 2020, so it has a little more data. And as President Bolger was saying, it's a slightly modified version of what the true CFI calculation is that Lane has seen, because the challenge is that it accepts a lot of public debt, which is backed by taxpayers. So they excluded some of those calculations. So that is something where I think we're planning on bringing in the fall. What I would also say is, based on the financial goals that President Bolger has in there, we'll already improve our CFI calculation because we're improving that financial outlook, which is also one of the reasons that the Moody's rating has the negative outlook uplifted, because we are working on all of these financial goals that President Bolger has. So it will help increase that CFI calculation.
And I would say, thank you for that, Kara. I would say also that the CFI report that the board sees and the community sees, we will put some context around that report, because we want to make sure that the community and the board are looking at that you're looking at the data, and you're not comparing the community colleges to one another. We're very, very different, and that you're not comparing us to one another. So, but we will certainly be getting that to the board at the appropriate time.
Thank you for that. I look forward to seeing that when it comes out. I think that's a number we should continue to look at and review on an annual basis. As we look forward to taking out another bond potentially in 4 or 5 years. My understanding is that it can affect our credit rating, that can affect our interest rates. And so if there's sort of a target of, we really want to hit this, benchmark by 28, 29, whatever that is, I'd be interested in thinking through how we could meet a particular target that would serve the interests of the institution. I think the last thing I'll just mention is that I think the changing state budget formulas that is potentially the biggest hindrance in the way of our leadership team restoring our enrollment growth and restoring fiscal stability to the college. And so just that anything we as a board can do to help advocate for lifting the cap on enrollment growth, reimbursement from the state, count me in. And I hope that we can support you in that and help remove that barrier to the college's success. That's all for me.
Excellent. Thank you, Zach. Next, we have Jesse. Jerry, is there anybody in the room that has their
Steve.
hand up? Oh, Steve, thank you so much. All right, got you in the queue, Steve. Jesse, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, President Bolger. Really appreciate that, and appreciate all my fellow board members, their questions. As a 2-month-old board member, really appreciate all of this, which kind of leads me to my question that you mentioned. And I'm not one necessarily to push for more meetings, but I was curious about the reduction in work session meetings, and just kind of what the additional thought was behind there. You had mentioned that they had started to feel like regular meetings. And so I'm just kind of curious if we could flesh that out a little bit more for my better understanding. And then I have maybe a follow-up after that.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate the question. Well, it's the practical matter of preparing for the meetings, which after today, you might know that we'll have a meeting in 2 weeks. And so we begin preparing for the next meeting the day after the board meeting or the work session. Board packets are due from, the information from the team are due roughly the Monday after the meeting that we're having. So you can only imagine. We would have Thursday, Friday, and then we're asking for information from the executive team by that next Monday in preparation for the meeting that it's going to occur in 2 weeks. When you have the headwinds of the nature that I spoke about, and you have some rapid changes in our society at large, rapid technology changes, demographic changes, all of those kinds of changes, and then other intensities internally, then the pressure on the college and the executive team and in working with the institution is quite a lot greater. We intend to, I'm going to be rolling this out next week at the fall in-service, but we intend to want to engage the entire college community in giving us some ideas about what this college should look like over the next 4 years. You might recall that the board has approved a multi-year forecast, keeps taking a look at that. The board wants to get to this elimination of a structural deficit and get back to the ending fund balance of 10%. This requires a lot of engagement in an institution, especially like ours, but most higher education institutions. That's the way to do it the right way. When you have a lot of engagement and you're having dialogue with people and you're getting their ideas and talking to them about what's happening, that is intense. And it's different than the work that we were engaged in my year 1, in my year 2, and in my year 3. And we're going to be engaged in this kind of work over the next 4 years, very likely. Now, maybe we'll get a windfall. That could happen. We'd like to get a windfall. But if that's not what we're seeing, I shared with the board today an article in KLCC today about what's happening at the state level. This is all very, very sobering news. And you have my commitment to do the thinking. That's what the job is, and I really enjoy that part. Do the thinking, working with my team to do the thinking about how this college can remain healthy and viable for years into the future. And that takes time. That takes quite a lot of time. I hope that helps, Jesse.
Yes, thank you. It does. Thank you.
Excellent. We'll go to Steve, and then I'll put myself in the queue, and then we'll be opening up to second rounds. Any hands up for second rounds by chance?
No.
Seeing none, go ahead. Yep, go ahead, Steve.
So, Stephanie, thank you for the presentation. I generally support you, of course, and the specificity with which you've expressed these goals. Like Kevin, I really appreciate the repeated focus, because you don't achieve these kinds of things in 1 year, and you're you're not getting distracted. You're staying focused on these core concerns that we as a board and you as a president have expressed repeatedly. So I appreciate all that, and I appreciate the additional specificity that you've provided us to help sort of keep track of how things are going, as well as when we can expect check-ins and what they would look like and what kind of information we'd get. So I'm supportive. I'm, by the way, also supportive of the 6 versus 11 work session meetings. And I think the reasons you provided are straightforward and compelling. Several of us on the board have argued for that in past years, to reduce the workload on the reporting workload on senior management, so they can focus more on things that need to be done out in the college. I did have one, I guess it's 2 concerns. So having just sort of gone through the process with several board members on your annual evaluation, I'm looking at and thinking about where there was, difficulty coming to a conclusion. It was, I think in my recollection, was largely around specificity of the board evaluation criteria. And so some folks read it, one way, other folks read it a different way. And so I would encourage you to provide some additional specificity. So as an example, under the first one, goal 1, fiscal condition, your first bullet point for evaluation is evidence of fiscal stability and progress towards financial targets. And then when you look up top and you look at the measures and targets, one of the key ones is we need 3 full years for it to play out, but we have to do an annual board review. So that's just the one example I'll provide. There's a few others that are like that in them. So helping us connect the measures and targets that you provided to more specific board evaluation, I think will help the board as a whole conduct the evaluation when it comes that time.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll put myself in the queue, and then Julie for second round. Any other hands up for second round? Excellent, Kevin. Thank you. Yep, thank you, Kevin.
And Zach.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, first off, thank you so much for this presentation. And let me also just simply state that I really appreciate the mentioning of students, especially in the presentation and also in the presentation documents back on the September 3rd meeting. I really appreciate the concept that the board is doing students first as a mentality. I think that's really beneficial, not only for defining what our purpose is, but also where we need to absolutely focus our attention, especially in this very difficult time period that we're in. We need to continue to focus on the students. I just feel like there is more opportunities in the measures, targets, standards, anchored, and board evaluation process in including language around students. I'll use just one as an example, which is on page 2 of the, let me get the right document here, President's Goals and Evaluation Framework 25-26. On page 2 under, oh my goodness, why? There it is. 5.4, about a third of the way down on the top of the page. Promotes a positive institutional image through strategic communication and outreach. And I would maybe just like add language around the stakeholders and students. A big reason why I kind of prompt this is because we especially heard from students during the budgetary process that they didn't feel like they heard about, why tuition was going up, why certain budgetary processes were in place. And I think that there's always an opportunity to reach out to students, outreach to students, and communicate to students in every way, shape, and form possible. So that's why I'm kind of advocating for more language around the standards, board evaluation, measures, and targets to be around the different goals. To be more student focused. And again, I would love to see what you potential edits there that you would have to bring back to the board on the 30th. Otherwise, and I feel like this, by the way, I feel like the spirit of that is in here, but I would love to see it kind of outlined more, including language around students. Now let me briefly, so just a suggestion there. My second thing is in regards to the meetings, which actually, I could wait till round 2 on that. I want to hear from other board members, obviously, about the evaluation. So we'll move on to Julie.
Well, I was actually your comment made me question what you were talking about. That if maybe I'm misunderstanding you, maybe I'm, so like a little clarity, the page 2, 5.4, that line is under the heading of manage enrollment growth and student success. It's actually under the section for students. And all of the targets are around retention and enrollment growth and student success. And even that sentence sits right below tracks and reports disaggregated students. And then it's like, I mean, maybe did you just want her to put the word student in that sentence? I mean, under the heading of student success. So I just wanted clarity on that before I moved on, because I was like, I wasn't sure what you were asking.
100%. Yeah. As I stated, students are mentioned in various aspects of the document, including the heading and so forth. But having the action be more around the student orientation and also stakeholders. Obviously, students are stakeholders there. It's just suggestions. And as far as language is concerned, like I said, the spirit is absolutely there. But I'm just suggesting additional language that makes it very clear it's around the students and our stakeholders. So yeah, thanks for asking that clarifying.
So my hand was raised because I realized I had forgotten about the request about going from 11 meetings to 6. I support that action a lot. I find that we are throwing stuff at the work session when we can't get to things. And I think that if we made a really intention agenda, making sure that we keep to our timelines, that we're, flowing and being really specific of why this is on there, and that only items that are on the work session are literally to just kind of ferret out things, and we're not putting normal agenda items on in a work session. And I think if we could do that, then we can have a longer work session, that allows us to have multiple conversations instead of all of us kind of being, the prep work that we as board members have to do for each meeting, as well as the staff and the president and her team, is extensive when we have 2 meetings a month. It gets pretty exhausting for us volunteer board members. So I would really like to have a more substantive meetings and have fewer of them. So that's my lobbying for that.
Thank you. We'll move on to Kevin, then Zach, and I'll put myself in the queue unless there's another hand up for not seeing any. So yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. My comments are directed to slide number 5 with the title Board Inputs Focus for 2025-2026. And I just want to highlight and recognize what the president is, what I think she's asking of the board, and it's important to put an underline on this, I believe. So definitely more of student success initiatives, employer engagement, K through 12 partnerships, experiential learning, support innovations. That's the board should depend on our educational professional, the president of the college, to steer the college in a way that will take advantage of the tailwinds rather, and work against the challenging headwinds. Certainly less board efforts that would take away the president's time and attention of doing her job of running the college and supporting students. And then the doing things differently, I appreciate as well. So this was a meaningful slide for me, and I wanted to verbalize that to emphasize it. And I appreciate what this slide is asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. We got Zach, and then I put myself in the queue. Any other hands for second round? Just to double check. All right, go ahead, Zach.
You have Steve in the queue after me.
Oh, Steve. Excellent. Go. All right, great. Thank you, Steve.
So I think a comment and then a question. So with regards to the number of meetings, I'll I don't have a strong stance. I'll defer to the leadership team of the chair and vice chair to work with President Bulger to schedule meetings as needed to get the work done. So I'll leave that to the chair and vice chair to work with the president on that. With regards to, let's see here, where was I? I think it's slide 9. Bullet number 4 around the under the evaluation framework, transparent reporting, quarterly updates and periodic reports and board meetings. So I think this is speaking to the idea of helping keep the board informed and educated about decisions that are being made. I did not see it here in this president goals evaluation document. And I'm wondering if there would be a benefit in outlining it as a, is there, I don't know if it's a 4th goal, if it raises to that level, but some sort of bullets associated with expectations around transparent reporting, if that would be valuable in any way. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Before I move on to my question, I just wanted to do a quick time check. Whoever's keeping time, I have 3 minutes left in this agenda item. I don't know if there was another official timer. I don't see one on the screen here, so I just wanted to verify if we have a timer.
No, I don't think we have a timer. I would
Okay.
like to have a chance
Yep.
to address some of the things that have taken place and
Fantastic.
been raised.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Please,
Absolutely,
please go
yeah.
ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll go myself and then Steve, and then we'll have enough time for response from the president. So in regards to the meetings, I feel like in the time period that we are in, unfortunately, we need those work sessions to discuss things, to have conversations, to have those conversations out in the open to the public. And I've spoken to other boards throughout the state in my roles with OCCA and my continued role as past president. And they actually want to adopt our model of work sessions because of that very aspect of more time to discuss items, to think about items, and to further broaden the scope of actions that need to take place, and also get updates of what's going on at the federal, state level, and so forth. So I would just say that there's great value in these work sessions. They are very, that being said, I do also want to empathize with the staff that yes, I am immensely appreciative of the work that you do and the hard work that you put into each and every one of these reports, these meetings, and everything, the time that you take in your evenings and so forth. But I still want to absolutely emphasize the value of the time that we have in these meetings are absolutely critical. They need to be had out in the open, out in the public. And also these work sessions allow for us to allow for the best possible public comment processes during our regular work, during our regular board meetings. So that all being said, I'm supportive of continuing with the model that we have. I would love to discuss this further in a collaborative way with the president, of course, and see if there's ways that we can continue the number of meetings that we have, especially in this critical time. We'll move on to Steve and then the president for final thoughts.
All right. Well, thank you. Just one point, Austin, I heard you say that it's one of the reasons why we should continue to have 11 work sessions and not reduce to 6 as the president requested is because of the value of public comment and testimony. But that wouldn't be affected, right? Because that happens only in our monthly, the first meeting of the month. So I just want to point that out. I don't think what the president was asking was to would have any impact there. I also just want to get clear how that particular decision would be made. We have the president requesting a reduction in meetings and has provided a rationale. Several people spoke in favor of it. Not everybody has spoken, so we don't know quite where everybody comes down on that one. So I just want to get clear about that process to make that decision.
President Bulger, do we have an answer for that?
I think that Trustee Mattel was asking perhaps the board chair.
Yeah, that's right, because the president is asking us, the board,
Yeah.
for support, and it seems to be divided. So now I'm trying to
Yeah.
understand how we're going to make that
Can I,
decision.
can I?
Absolutely. Oh,
Right.
it'd be the board calendar of meetings. We'd have to bring that up for a vote again, is my understanding. But Jerry, did you, let's see.
Real quick
Oh,
on
wait.
that, on the meeting.
Well, actually, but before we do that, let's go ahead and I just want to see a kind of show of hands if we want to add 5 minutes to this agenda item, just so we can wrap up conversations about the particular topic, and also to make sure the president has plenty of time to discuss. Can I see a general just kind of thumbs up consensus for adding 5 minutes? Fantastic, great, thank you so much. All right, cool. So Jerry, go ahead, and then Julie was in the queue as well, and then the president. But go ahead, Jerry, in regards to
Well,
that.
I think between what Julie said and what Zach said, we've got an answer that we can have some longer. I favor going to 6, but we could have longer meetings. And if the chair, vice chair, president say we need more, we can schedule more. I'm okay with the recommendation, but
Okay.
with that twist.
Yeah. All right, Julie, and then Julie, I saw your hand up.
I just said, it was just a quick thought. I mean, the board gets to make whatever decision they want. We don't have a policy on 11 meetings. We have a calendar in case we do. But if we decided we didn't have an agenda item for our meeting in October, we just don't have a meeting. But so your comment about, well, I believe we'll have to have a change of our calendar. Well, no, we just simply don't. We just say we're not going to have work sessions. We just decide which ones are going to be. And as it comes up, what the agenda items are. So if you're unwilling to make this kind of, then I would like this item to be added to the agenda on the 30th so we can vote on it.
Okay. Just really briefly, because you made a comment and Steve made a comment that I want to respond to. Steve, my comment in regards to public participation is that when public participation goes long, that means less time, or at least that it feels like we have less time to discuss items and to have broader conversations and discussions, which impacts the board's ability to have discussions. That's why these work sessions are so valuable, because we're able to take the time to process things, discuss things, think critically on things, and so forth, and have that time to work on those specific items. So I wanted to respond to that briefly. And then Julie, I would just simply say there is a few things to consider under board policy 2345, 2430, and there's another board policy, 2211, that we would also want to consider in this broader conversation. So I would support a board conversation about this specific aspect of these, a reduction in the number of meetings. So I support having this brought to the September 30th meeting, and I'll work with Vice Chair and the President to develop that agenda. So. Now we have the president to close us out.
Well, I think Trustee Mulholland wanted to speak, and I will yield to him before I have a chance to speak. So, yeah, I just want to follow up.
My apologies. My apologies. I didn't see that hand there. I apologize. Go ahead, Zach.
We've had a request from the president to reduce the number of work sessions. I would ask that you, Austin, work with Jerry to work with the president to come to some type of compromise solution that we can lower the total number of work sessions. I don't know if it's 6, but please work with her to come forward with ideally a consensus recommendation from our leadership team and from the president. If you can do that in the next 2 weeks, I'd appreciate you trying to do that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope that I was communicating the spirit of that. But yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, President Bolger.
Yeah. So I wanted to respond. I think Trustee Mulholland mentioned transparent reporting. I just want to let the board and the college community know that that is a given. That's the way I lead. And the reason for putting it on here is to make that visible. As you look, from my perspective, as you look at the framework, then this is about transparency, everything on this document. The second thing I'd like to refer to, I think I steered everyone wrong by talking about the standards anchor, that section. The standards are the community college competencies standards. Vince Adams actually worked with the college, worked with me and the board on those standards. We have shared them with the board. I did that in July as well. The intention is actually not to change the standards, not to change the language in the standards. So I would ask for the board's indulgence on that, and that we don't change the language of the standards. The final thing is that my request for 6 of the 11 work sessions. Actually, I'll tell you, I wanted 9. Okay, so I wanted 9 and not 6. 6 was a compromise for me.
You got outvoted?
No, it's all in my head, Jerry. No. So I wanted more. Or fewer. I'm sorry. I wanted more like 5 or 4. I was going in the wrong direction. Because what the board is asking me to do with, if it approves everything that's on this document, the 2-page document, and in this slide deck, if you're asking me to do that, that is such a heavy lift for this college. It's not just me, but as the leader, I'm working through other people. It's a heavy lift for the college. And so that's who I'm thinking about. If the board is doesn't have consensus on this one at all, if it doesn't have consensus, then what I'm going to need to do is scale back on what I presented to you tonight. I just will not be able to get all of that done. I just cannot ask the college to do all of that. So I will do that because there's not consensus by the board. I'll bring that back to the regular meeting. I'll do that for September 30th, and the board can certainly take a look at the scaled down version of what I'm presenting this evening.
Okay. So next steps on this, I would recommend that the president, vice chair, and myself have a conversation about this, about possible options, and have a broader conversation about this. We could do a possibility of having 2 pared down goals of like, this is if we have reduction in work sessions, this if we don't. And I'm open to actually having both of those be presented at the next September 30th meeting, concepts there. So, but that being said, I think we had a really good conversation, good discussion, and we have some next steps there. All right. Moving on to the next discussion item, and just as a request, if we're able to put a timer, sometimes we're able to put a timer up on the Zoom, that would be incredibly helpful as we go into this next conversation here. We have scheduled 35 minutes for these board policies. We are discussing board policy 1100, board policy 1200, and board policy 4350. I just want to put a little header here, just a reminder of, this is an opportunity for us to discuss board policies, opportunity for us to have respectful dialogue and conversations. This is a safe place to have those conversations, ask questions, and so forth, with respectful communication. So I just wanted to kind of bring that as the spirit of this as we present on this and as we have this conversation. So as I said, if we're able to do the timer, if not, I'll just go ahead and keep time here. And Dr. Bulger, if we can continue with the presentation.
Okay, thank you. So I wonder if Brett Roulette is on the line. There we are, Brett. And Brett, I wonder if you can go through the two policies, and then we will cover BP 4350. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair, members of the board, President Bulger. Thanks for letting me join you remotely this evening. We have two policies, as was mentioned. Before we started with those, because we do have a few new members of the board that haven't gone through the policy review process before, I just wanted to give you kind of a 1-minute summary. The board has 158 policies, and you also have a policy that requires you to, through your agenda setting process, make sure that you review these policies at least once every 5 years. Of the 158 policies, 105 are policies that the board has adopted from the OCCA policy library. 53 of the policies are policies that the college had prior to adopting the OCCA library. Those were the 3-digit policies that the board renumbered to 4-digit policies in June. So just a little background there. There's 3 ways that policies will come to you for a first reading. Those that are scheduled for their regular review, so once every 5 years at a minimum. A request from the board, such as you have this evening with Board Policy 4350. And then whenever there's an urgent need to make updates to policies, such as changes in state or federal law or regulations, a recent example would be changes in Title IX when we brought policies to you. This evening, the 2 policies, Board Policy 1100 and Board Policy 1200, are the 2 policies from Chapter 1 of your policy library. The first policy, Lane Community College, is a pretty simple policy. It outlines the name of the college and lists the locations that we have education centers. With this policy, staff is recommending a revision, and the way we bring forth revisions to you, staff will review policies. Sometimes, for example, academic affairs is reviewing some of the academic policies to bring forth recommendations later this year. And it's oftentimes shared with team and their teams, and feedback is gathered. And that's how we bring forth the recommendations to you that we do. This evening's revision is fairly simple. In Board Policy 1100, the Aviation Center is not included on the list of education centers. And so the suggested revision from staff is to add that to Board Policy 1100. No other changes with that one. And then Board Policy 1200 is the Lane Community College mission. And with this policy, we just to kind of note, it's not normally a practice of the board to revise the mission through the review process of this policy. That's often done through strategic planning process when the board goes through and sets the next strategic plan for the college. So just if you had questions about that. But because of that, because there hasn't been a change to the college mission, staff is recommending no revisions to that policy. And I guess I'll stop right there to see if you have any questions.
Anybody?
You're muted again, Austin.
Thank you so much. I immensely appreciate that. Yeah. So this is an opportunity for discussion, questions, and the next step here would be to add these 2 to the consent agenda for the September 30th meeting. So with that, any questions or discussions? Any hands raised in the room?
No.
Nope. Seeing none. Thank you. No hands online.
One. Here's Zach.
All right. Excellent. Zach, go ahead.
I just have a process question or suggestion moving forward that I would like our leadership team, our chair and our vice chair, to provide a recommendation to approve or to change board policies that come before the board. I'd like the leadership team to say that the board should approve policies before they make it to the board. Thanks.
Could I ask for some clarification on why you might want that?
Last year, a board policy came before the board that I didn't think was appropriate. I felt like the chair and the vice chair should have approved and recommended to the board that policy or recommended changes to that policy. So I would just like that vetting process to happen before it gets to the full board, that the chair and the vice chair or a third member of the leadership team, if we have a third member, would support board policies being brought before the board. Thank you.
Okay, gotcha. I just a further clarifying question. So like, for instance, we're bringing this board policy in this work session. And we had a conversation of the agenda setting process prior to this meeting, obviously. That's what you're talking about there is essentially that, hey, these are the board policies that more than likely will come up. And this is due to like a calendar. Well, Brett kind of outlined the different reasons why these board policies come up, but you just want to make sure that those discussions are being had prior to them coming to like a work session and obviously through a
If
board
the
meeting.
chair and vice chair see a red flag with a board policy, I'd like you to figure that out before it makes it to the board to work with the staff to ideally come with something that the leadership team is supportive of. Thank you.
Understood. Yeah. And just so everyone's clear as well, there is a safeguard to, someone can pull a something like, let's say we put this on the consent agenda. We can pull it from the consent agenda for, concerns, red flags, and so forth. So, so that process is in place as well, but heard and noted though. Thank you. We'll go on to Julie.
I'm not sure that I agree with that request. So if we're going to have a substantive change to how policies are brought to us, I'd like that motion to be brought to the board for a decision to be made. I don't agree with I don't agree that the chair and the vice chair have the authority to vet the policy that we have. We have a policy about policies to vet things that come to us when they're in an automatic review process. Every 5 years, they're automatically done. That's why they're brought. And I don't agree that the vice chair and the chair should be the ones that are deciding whether or not they are a red flag item. I think the board is perfectly capable in the 2-meeting review to do that. So if we have debate here and we don't agree, then that decision and that change of policy, because it would be a change of policy, needs to be brought to the board for a discussion around changing policy and not just a request of the new chair and vice chair.
So I saw Zach's hand come up, I assume, for a response. I would like to kind of direct the conversation back to the actual policies themselves. But Zach, I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to respond if there was any additional clarification.
No, it's fine. I'm just hoping that we can have a board chair and vice chair recommendation that comes along with these to the board rather than just a staff recommendation in the future. And if I need to bring that to the full board for us to vote on that process change, then I'm happy to bring that forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that clarification there. Thank you. Going back to the subject at hand, which is board policy 1100 and 1200. Any questions specific to those board policies?
Steve.
Yeah, no questions. They seem pretty straightforward, and I'll plan to support them at the next meeting.
Yeah, likewise.
Excellent. Any further questions or comments? All right, we'll work with the presidents to add that to the consent agenda. Next, we have board policy 4350. Just for a time check, we have 27 minutes on this agenda item, and I'm open to extending that if necessary. Brent, go ahead.
So I am going to step in on this one, and I want to share a slide deck that I put together with regard to what seems to be have been confusing to the board, and it's a term in board policy 4350. It's called major substantive change, and so I want to go through this slide deck here, see if there are any questions, and perhaps this in my advisory role with the board, perhaps this will assist the board in its discussion. The second slide here is about what authority defines major substantive change. Major substantive change is a term of art, and it is defined by the U.S. Department of Education. And then I've also included the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities, which is our regional accreditor. You may not know that it's the U.S. Department of Education that actually begins the definition of what major substantive change is, and then all of the regional accreditors actually implement that. And we have included as reference material the policy from the USDOE and also the substantive change policy manual for your review. Next slide, please. So Substantive changes in the Northwest Commission on Commission's manual is defined in two ways: major substantive change and minor substantive change. And you can see the definition, and you can see some examples there as well. Again, these are terms of art, and they have been very well articulated by the Northwest Commission. Next slide. The requirements for operational updates and what the Northwest Commission considers operational updates are some that are listed here. When we talked about the pause on the licensed practical nurse program, that's a pause, or in the Northwest Commission's language, it's considered a moratorium. And that is basically something that we take care of with the Northwest Commission as an operational matter. And you can see moratorium, pause, suspending, and terminating programs, and what that means to the Northwest Commission. Next slide. We received some guidance from our liaison at the Northwest Commission, who's the Senior Vice President at the Commission. She's our liaison, and Dr. Bangera. This was on September 3rd, 2025, not too long ago, about a couple of weeks ago. And you can all read that as well. And she uses the word moratorium, and she does not use the word pause for the reasons I earlier stated. Would you like ask a question now?
Sorry, I don't know if it's a she or he. Did they provide guidance on whether a suspension or a termination falls under that category? They specifically use the word moratorium here, so I'm wondering if they provided guidance with regards to those other two words.
Yeah. No, it was the question. My question to her was really about pausing the LPN program. That was my question to her.
Follow up, I might ask for with regards to those other two as well.
Okay. Next slide, please.
Oh, and just a clarification, President Bulger, would you like to have questions at the end, or would you like it during the presentation?
Oh, I don't mind at all.
Okay,
So
perfect.
we
Thank you.
have two more slides. Thank you for your patience. We've got operational processes for program changes. I'm going to get the Vice President for Academic Affairs to come up and help me with this. And so we're going to give you 3 examples of the operational processes when program changes have occurred. And Dr. Tinkham can kind of walk us through that.
Sure, absolutely. So the slide that you have in front of you, you have 2 examples there. The first example is an example of a replacement. So if you recall, many of you may have been here in 2023, the college replaced the manufacturing technology program through an approval of the CNC machining and inspection program. So that is essentially what the college did. It developed a new program and then took an old program out. So the board approved that new program. And in front of you, you can see the approval and notification process that happens with a new program. A new program is typically it's developed through faculty first who develop the curriculum. That curriculum then is reviewed by the dean. It goes to the curriculum committee where it is considered. If it's successful, it continues on its way to the associate vice president for consideration, then to the vice president of academic affairs, then to the president, then to the board. In this case, it was curriculum and a new program. That program then is sent to the Higher Education Coordinating Commission for consideration. If it's successful, it goes to the Northwest Commission of Colleges and Universities. And then from there, we send it to the US DOE so that it can participate in Title IV and students can get financial aid. So that is the process of taking a program out and then replacing it with a new program. Yes.
With regards to the manufacturing technology program that was phased out, what type of notification or requests went up to NWCCU? Did you?
Through that process, what happens is we contact both the HEC and we say that we're taking it out. It's pro forma. And then we simply inform the Northwest, the commission, that we're taking it out. It is not a substantive change. It's what is called a portal update. So we simply say that this program, often when you're teaching, when you're replacing a program, what a college will do is it will first put on moratorium because you still have students in the program. So students might still be utilizing financial aid. Then after a period of time, then it's terminated.
Okay, but they're parallel processes for approving the new program and phasing out the old program. They're not, one's not dependent on the other, I guess.
In this case, yes, because in this case here, a new program was brought forth. That was approved by the board. Phasing the program out was kind of de facto as part of that.
Right, but in terms of a formal approval process, there was a formal approval process to get the new program approved, but there was not a formal approval process
Not really. It's
to
simply-
phase out the
No,
old.
it's simply notification.
Thank you.
So then let me give you another example. There was also a termination of the Water Conservation Technician Program in the summer of 2022. This was a presidential decision. Faculty brought this forth to the dean. There was a lack of enrollment in this program over a course of many years. This was then brought to the associate vice president, to the vice president for consideration, the president, and then simply NWCCU and HEC were notified of this program update.
On that, can I quit? Didn't that have a vote by the board?
No, it did not.
If your question is, why not? If your question is, why not?
No, I
No?
didn't ask why not.
Oh, okay.
It sounded like there were rational reasons that when enrollment fell out and it was time to move on from that program.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. And then we have one more example on the next slide.
Oh, really briefly, I had my hand up. Sorry.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm looking back on January 12th of 2022, and there was a board discussion and looks like even an action. Yeah, on January 12th, 2022. Unless I'm missing something here. Anyway,
Neither of us was here, Austin. I don't, Chair Fonagy, I don't know if you have any other details on that, but I came in July of 2022. Dr. Tinkham came roughly 6 months afterwards. So I don't have any context for what you're bringing up right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was in regards to that program. It's in board docs, January 12th, 2022. Just wanted to put that in for the record that there was a board action on that. So.
There was a third program that we wanted to talk about. Dr. Tinkham?
The next program?
Yeah.
This is another program that we recently terminated, and this was a different process that we utilized. This was through the Academic Portfolio Review Recommendation. This is something that we put into place in 2023. This is a process by which the faculty and the deans receive data every year, and they start discussing programs. They start looking at enrollment, looking at program outcomes. And in this situation, the faculty and the deans worked together. The faculty and the dean worked together and decided that this program was not meeting expectations. The dean then recommended, after working with the faculty, to discontinue that program. That recommendation was brought to the associate vice president and then the vice president of academic affairs, to the president, who then had that final decision. And then both our commission and HEC were then notified of that program suspension, and that program is terminated.
Thank you, Dr. Tinkham. I believe that that's the last slide. But reporting to the board, this is how we report updates like the ones that the examples that you've seen. This is how we report updates to the board. And I have pledged transparency, and this is how we do that. So the annual program portfolio update happens through academic affairs, and there's a report that the board receives in May of the year. This is fairly recent at Lane Community College because the program portfolio review process is fairly recent, maybe a year old or so, 2 years old. There's also a monthly academic affairs information report. And as you all know, it's in the board regular meeting. We have a number of reports, including this one by academic affairs. And we put information in there about the status of curriculum that moves back and forth at the institution. I'll just finally say that this allows these kinds of processes being operational, allow us to be nimble and to respond to our community, to respond to employers as nimbly and as agile as we can. It's the lateness of the hour, excuse me. And so we try to be nimble, we try to be agile, and that allows us to do that. So I'm hoping that this is helpful additional information for you as you talk about Board Policy 4350.
Excellent. Thank you for that presentation. We have 15 minutes for discussion.
Zach,
Let's see, I have Zach's hand up. Anybody else in the room?
Kevin,
Perfect. Thank you so much. We'll start with Zach and Kevin.
So I submitted a number of questions related to this topic that I think we're supposed to get some additional responses back in the coming weeks, but just a couple of things that I'm going to be looking for as I try and think about how to move forward and what the process should look like in the future. So the first is just what has been the historical process at the college. We had received a document from the faculty union suggesting that the board has voted on program closures in the past from 2015 to maybe 2023, and just getting a sense of first, does the leadership team of the college have that document in order to be able to comment on its completeness or accuracy?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay.
The document that you're talking about, if you'd like to share that with me, I'd be happy to receive it.
Okay, I'll try and make sure that you have it after this meeting. If I don't have it electronically, I'll try and get a copy of it for you electronically. I think I might only have a hard copy that was handed out at the previous board meeting. So just really understanding what the historical process has been, not just in the last 2 or 3 years, but going back 10 years, if that has been the historic process to bring the closures of degree programs to the board. It would be good to know what the historic practice has been and when or how or why that changed, if it did change. So that would be sort of the first piece. The second is regards to the substantive change document that was shared with the board. That document links to some processes for how to close a program, and there's a line there about basically that any program closure should be carefully considered by the governing body of an institution, but it doesn't really give guidance on to what that, what type of careful consideration of a program closure, what that actually looks like. So if they do have specific guidance on, it says the governing body should carefully consider it, but it doesn't say how we should carefully consider it. So any additional information in that regard would be very, very beneficial. And, I just look forward to getting to a process that everybody feels happy and comfortable with, and where we all know what to expect, and that we can have really respectful, positive dialogue and move forward in a positive way as a board. With regards to, previous years, I think last year we passed 2 new degree programs. And I asked a lot of questions and found out that there was other degree programs being phased out at the same time that were sort of parallel. And, for me as a board member, I think that's actually very valuable to know that, that when we're standing up a new program, that there's another program that we're phasing out. And so, I could potentially see it being very natural that the board might, both approve the starting of a degree program and the ending of a degree program is just sort of a natural cycle that the board participates in. But I want to just take this slowly and respectfully and learn as much as I can before we are asked to make a decision on this. I feel like I need a lot more information and some more discussion time before we vote on anything.
President Bulger, and then Kevin, and then myself, and Steve.
Oh. Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and do what I heard there was President Bulger, Kevin, Jerry, and Steve. Excellent. Thank you so much. President Bolger.
I just wanted to share with the board that in response to what Trustee Mulholland was saying is that from my perspective, the college has been following the board policy 4350. And so my purpose this evening was to share that slide deck with the board to give illustration of what's happened at this institution, certainly since I've been here, and also to let the board know about what major substantive change is, because that is directly related to the board policy 4350. The second is program closure. If you could refer me to what you're reading, I will just say that I have been a peer reviewer in 2 accreditation agencies, the Higher Learning Commission and also the Association for Community and Junior Colleges. I'm now in the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. I very much understand what the rules are, and we are following those rules here at Lane Community College. If you can refer me to what you're saying about program closure in the NWCCU manual, we will explain that.
Should I have them? I've sent it to you previously. Should they bring it up right now so I can show you specifically the title, or can we can just
No,
follow
you
up
can
to the
just-
questions I've already sent?
You can just follow up if you like.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, I followed up on Sunday with the specific documents that I was referring to, and so I can resend that to you after this meeting.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification there, Zach. We'll move on to Kevin, and then we'll move on to Jerry.
Thank you, Chair. I think it's important for this board to have a clear understanding that the current board policy 4350 is written very specifically to use the term major substantive changes. It requires the board to approve major substantive changes. Why that's important is it's tied directly to, as the president pointed out, it's tied directly to our accreditation. And so any change to that process could affect our ability to maintain our accreditation. That is a large concern for me. Any changes in wording to board policy 4350, such has been suggested to substitute the words substantive reduction, substitute that phrase for the term major substantive changes, is actually a transformational change in the board policy. And I think it would put the college at risk. And so I think the board needs to be very aware of all the possible ramifications of changing board policy 4350. And I agree with Trustee Mulholland, who says, let's pump the brakes on this thing. We need to do our due diligence on this, and that's going to take a lot of time. I don't think it's possible for me to receive all the information I need to make a fully informed decision by the September 30th board meeting. So that's another concern. If the board approved a change and included the words substantive reduction in the board policy, that's not tied to an accreditation standard. That is opening the board to interpreting what a substantive reduction might be. And so we would be creating a policy that could be interpreted differently by different boards in the future. And I don't think that's good policymaking. The other concern I have that's associated with possible changes is that if the board is going to be interpreting what substantive reductions are and removing the accreditation authority definition, then it could open the board up to more political influence, and it could reduce the ability of the board to operate in an independent fashion. which is a critical need for this board. We're elected officials. We need to act independently. And if the accreditation authority, NWCCU, if they see a board that is not acting independently, that is reacting to outside political forces, that could be a big concern for the college. And so I get pretty frustrated when I hear comments made, well, the changes that are being discussed that are included in the motion that's on the table right now, I hear comments that, well, I don't see that it changes board policy 4350 at all. And I say, well, actually, I think I haven't said this, but now I'm saying it. Well, if that's the case, why are we talking about it? Why is there a motion on the table? It's a significant transformational change to board policy 4350. I brought this up before. I want to mention it again. Any proposed changes to the board policy that would reduce the president's authority to make operational decisions is concerning to me. And I think that it could open the college up and increase risk of acting in retaliatory behaviors towards the president. Now, I say that because we have an investigative report that has been issued that has said there's been discriminatory and abusive and bullying behavior to the president based on her race and gender. And so to suggest now that we're going to, as a board, take away her power and authority to operate the college is very concerning to me. And I want to make a public statement and be very clear about this. I will not aid or abet any efforts to undermine the president or any retaliatory behaviors towards the president. I will not participate. I will not support those. To Zach's point.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
To Zach's point that the process has been clunky, I agree. It feels rushed. I feel unprepared to make a major decision to change a board policy. And I think the items that the board should be asking for in terms of completing due diligence are things like, what are the legal issues, including possible risk to the college and also individual board members? The issue of retaliation, accreditation issues, enrollment effects on the LCC Foundation fundraising, effects on Moody's credit rating for the college, effects on the president's ability to run the college, effects on retaining administrative staff, effects on community goodwill towards the college, effects on the president and college employees, and a thorough ORS review. That's probably a very incomplete list, but the point is, if we're contemplating a major policy change, which I believe that's what's before this board, we need to make a decision with our eyes wide open with all the information that we can gather on this topic. Thank you.
Excellent. And just to clarify, like what we're doing here, we're having a discussion. That's what we're doing here. So we are going through processes to have a broader discussion. This might even take several conversations and several discussions. And I want to encourage the board to have those discussions in this very process that we're undertaking right now. So I also wanted to just time check. We have literally 1 minute and 15 seconds on this. I was wondering if we can, through consensus of the board, add 10 minutes to this agenda item, just to make sure that everybody has a chance to speak and so forth. So just thumbs up, raise hand, just to say that you're okay with that. Perfect. Adding 10 minutes to the agenda item, and we'll move on to Jerry, Steve, and then I put myself in the queue as well. Jerry, go ahead.
Yeah, I live in the real world and not so much in the theoretical. And I came on this board in July. In June, I listened to the public hearing. And during that public hearing, speaker after speaker said, "What happened to our nurses program?" And there was a lot of words said, and I kept thinking to myself, there's got to be a rational explanation for this, and why doesn't somebody say something to all these people? And I realized later we don't interact with the public during the meeting, but I have to say that was difficult for me to absorb and then to try to come to grips with it. And I did the best I could. I took that issue to the retreat that we had in July, and I was pretty much rebuffed at that meeting. And I'm still waiting for that rational explanation as to why we closed that program. Okay, moratorium or pause or whatever we want to call it. As I said, I represent the people. I got elected. And when I hear that many people speaking like that, and then I hear from other members of the community, including health care providers, and I represent Florence, more seniors out there than any place in the county. We're concerned about this. And I'd like to have a situation where the administration, the president, would come to the board and say, we're going to close this program down for a while. This is why, and I want you to support it. And I'll tell you, if it's a rational, reasonable, just like that watershed thing that was brought up a few minutes ago, the demand, but there were 17 people already registered for this one. And I don't want to be inflammatory. I really don't. And I realize this is kind of a wound that we've had as a college, and I'd like to get past it too. And I would like, though, for the board to be able to weigh in on a situation like that. And that's pretty much where I stand. Trust, but verify. That's what Reagan said. And I never thought I'd be quoting Ronald Reagan, but there it is. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Chair, for that opportunity.
Chair Fullnagy, if I could.
Yeah, absolutely. President Bulger, yeah.
I get concerned when at our ability to work with individual board members so that board members are able to help me tell the story about what's happening at Lane. And there have been several stories about the pause of the LPN program pathway. And because I just heard some inaccuracies, then I will make another effort to work with Trustee Rust to clarify the language that we're using around the LPN program pathway pause. And it is not a closed program. I'm hoping that the community hears me on that. The program is not closed. So we will work with you individually, Trustee Rust, to clarify. I know you came in on the board in July, and that meeting may have seemed a little bit inflammatory to you in June. So we will make every effort to meet with you and have a conversation with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I have Steve. I put myself in the queue, but I also see Zach's hand. So Zach, you'll go ahead before me if that's all right. Steve, go ahead.
I have a 5-second thing for Jerry. I think if you look at the responses to information requests from the mid-June work session, you will see a number of questions that I asked about the closure of the LPN program and the college's reasoning behind that closure. And so I would say take a look at that as a starting point. There was good justifications. There were good reasons for why it was closed, and that'll be in there.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Steve, go ahead.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate the discussion. I think I just want to underscore a few points and then take us in a slightly different direction, if that's same topic, but maybe a different perspective on it. I want to agree and underscore some things that Kevin said. This is a major program change, and yes, we are discussing it here tonight, but in my mind, this is sort of the beginning, not the end. All we're doing right now is airing perspectives that various board members have. We have not yet heard from and we should hear from experts about implications that we wouldn't necessarily think of ourselves as board members. So I would respectfully request that we continue this conversation at a subsequent work session, and perhaps a third and whatever else before we make any significant program change. So it's great to get, kind of starting board positions out there, but there's a lot more to dig into on this than just that. So that was one thing. I wanted to take us in a slightly different direction. Sometimes when we've been beaten on this one particular policy really hard for a long period of time, and we're getting stuck on the meanings of various words, and we're all coming at each other saying, well, it means this and it means that, and it doesn't seem like we're moving the needle too much with by looking at it from that perspective. I'm looking at some other policies though that may be useful for us to consider. I'm looking at BP policy 2050 right now. I'm going to read from it. That's the governing style of the board. I'm not going to read it in its entirety, just a couple of key phrases, and I'll do that again with one other. So it says, as its introductory statement, the board will govern with an emphasis on meeting community needs. I'm going to paraphrase here. I'm not going to cover every single point. That meeting community needs, leading strategically, clearly distinguishing board and president roles. So I want to remind us that is also one of our obligations as expressed in Board Policy 2050. There's a lot more there. I'm not going to say every single thing, but I'll encourage folks to read it. Point 5 on that one, though, I do think is useful for us to be reminded of. It's something that our facilitator at the summer retreat pointed out. I'm going to point it out a second time because I find it right here in Board Policy 2050. Point 5 says, the board focus chiefly on intended long-term impacts on the world outside the organization, the ends, not on the administrative or programmatic means of attaining those effects. And I think that is what we are doing right now, right? Our long-term vision that we supported and expressed relative to the nursing programs was to move towards and into these the 4-year degree, as it was explained to us, that's a more valuable credential, to focus more on the RN programs and a range of pathways, as has been explained to us. And I think that there have been some deficiencies in the explanation, which has given cause to some board members wanting to really focus on means. But I would ask us to pull back from that and say, all right, what's the big vision here? What's the goal? And do we agree with it, even though there's some pain along the way? The other board policy that I'm finding useful right now and would ask others to take a look at is Board Policy 2200. Again, there's more in here that I'm going to read out loud right now. But this one is the Board of Education Duties and Responsibilities. That's the policy name. And there are several bullet points here. I'm going to read just the one that says the board delegates power and authority to the president to effectively lead Lane Community College. And if we were to make some substantive changes as proposed, we would be undermining both of those other policies. I'll stop there.
Trustee Altucker, were you?
Kevin's on.
I was in the queue, but for the purposes, I want to empower other board members. Kevin, go ahead, and then I'll be after that. We are running out of time, so I'd say that those would be the last two. So Kevin, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Why are board members using the word closed to refer to the LPN program after we heard from our president that it is not closed? Thank you.
Okay. And again, I just want to encourage we're having a discussion here. This is an opportunity to speak, to express thoughts. I think everyone's been very respectful, and I really immensely appreciate that. We are imperfect people doing imperfect things imperfectly, and certain words are used and so forth. So again, this is mainly a discussion. I want to encourage that conversation, that discussion. And we are out of time. I do see other hands, and I want to make sure everybody has had a chance to speak. And I also want to encourage further conversations past this one. Let's just add 5 more minutes. I just to this agenda, just to make sure everybody gets a chance to finish up. And I would love to have Julie go ahead. Go right ahead, Julie.
You were supposed to be speaking. You're in the queue. Go for it. I'm waiting for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm just, I'm wanting to empower others, in this conversation. Please go ahead. I would love to hear what you have to say.
And ditto. I would like to hear what you have to say first. You are one of the people that are bringing the amendment to this board policy, and I'd like to hear it. I have things I would like to hear your voice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. And just to clarify, because I've seen this in the documents too, I am bringing, this is not my amendment, right? This is what I heard concerns about from board members in public meetings. And this is how those concerns can be addressed, is with this language. So this is not like a unilateral thing. This isn't like a thing. This isn't my issue. I think this is a board conversation and a board discussion, and something that is held out in the public for everyone to hear and understand. So I really want to push back against this concept of, you're the one that's, bringing forward this change. This is about a broader board conversation, and which has had multiple discussions, by the way. So I just want to push back on that a little bit, respectfully. That being said, what I would say in regards to this board policy, the board does not work independently from the public. We have a responsibility to the public. We are the caretakers of this institution on behalf of the public in regards to a variety of different things, including policy, the budget, institution, strategic plan, mission, and so forth. All of these are outlined within our board policies. And in regards to board policy 4350, it's not about administrative control or operations. It's about governance. To say that it is kind of like saying checks and balances is micromanagement. It's not. These are processes that allow for the public to be a part of the discussion. It allows for the board to make sure that when programs are paused, moratorium, closed, so on and so forth, that there is an opportunity for us to make sure that equity lens is being considered. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying that it allows for conversations and discussion. And also so that we can go back to our constituents to have further discussion and be informed in those discussions, because we as a board have talked about these programs, if they're being cut, why they're being cut, and so forth. I would also state that I agree with Board Member Mulholland in regards to that there is language in the NWCCU document that says that for a careful consideration of the board, and where I would seek guidance for what that specifically entails would be actually Oregon Revised Statute 341.290. Specifically in section 3, but the whole ORS is applicable to this, which gives local governing bodies, specifically in education, the opportunity to bring these type of programs forward for public discussion, for us to ask questions, for us to hear public comment, and to allow us to have a broad understanding and discussion about these programs and how they impact various things, both short-term and long-term. And most importantly, to consider the students. We definitely want to have an opportunity to consider how these are impacting students. And so, yeah, all these are a part of a broad discussion. And that's what I think Board Policy 4350 is all about, is that opportunity for elected officials to have input on something that's around governance and impacts the institution as a whole. I really look.
Um,
sorry.
Steve wants to do it, but
No,
Julie
yeah, I'm just
first.
trying to get in the queue, that's all, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Totally. I'm trying not. Okay. Sorry. I'll just stop there, I guess, for now. I'm trying to make more time for others. So with that, Julie and then Steve.
So I'm gonna reiterate a little, and then just want to make a couple of comments and just kind of remind ourselves and remind the chair again that we are in a very intelligent board with lots of experience, lots of governing experience. We do our homework. I would imagine that most of us have copies of the policies, all of the policies. I mean, Trustee Moitel just read from 2 of them. I've got them all on my computer. So, we're really versed in it. I'm also versed in the OAR, the ORSs, all the things that you quote. And so I want to make sure that we kind of set some of this legal text, this legal concepts aside, this constant reading of things, so that we can actually have more broad conversations of what the board, as a collective whole again, the board, decides how it interprets this information. So we have these statutes of, you talk about, a couple of you have mentioned like history. Let's go back in time and see how we've done this before and why did that change and when did it change and, all that. And precedents, I've seen that before, that there was a precedent. Let me go back and look about precedent. And I just want to bring some caution. Just because something was done in the past and just because we had a precedent does not make it right or correct. It's possible that things have changed. New laws have been put into place, new statutes. We have a new leader who actually follows the law in a different way and probably in a more accurate way, given her experience and accreditation. We cite the list that was handed out by the faculty, and I've looked at it, and every single one of them on here is an elimination of a program, except for one, and it's technically an elimination of a program. Every single one of them. And so, although it looks like a really nice document with a whole bunch of stuff on it, it's an elimination of a program. Even the ones that are cited in 2022, the January 2022, that was a group of them, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that was done. Suspend, 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 permanent suspension, and it was to later approve a new program. So it's not like there's this historical precedence of some violation that we're doing today. We're actually following the laws of a major, or the guidance of major substantive changes. My concern with the intentionality of what's happening here around this issue, 16 students were affected. And although that is, I don't want to ever have any students affected, I've heard a lot of conversations about getting rid of programs for low enrollment and getting rid of, other programs that only affect a few kids or only affect a few students. But so somehow or another, this one's living in a different way. And the LPN is a standalone pathway. It can easily be paused and brought back. It's not something big. We're making it big. And so my little pink flags go up when this becomes this huge conversation that we're all having about it, when really it shouldn't be taking this much time and effort and intentionality, and especially like some big huge error was occurred to the point where it gets you feel like you're accusing the president of violating policies and violating the board's authority, and yet there are multiple policies that we have, and I'll happily share my highlights of them for you if you're interested, about what our job is and that distinction between ends and operations. So my guidance and my suggestion to the board is if the board has problems with an action that the president has taken, then we as a board call an executive session and we have a conversation with the president in executive session about that. We do not go out into the public and we do not go out to some other thing and have these big, huge conversations of like, why did this happen? She's our employee. We hold her accountable so that we as a governing body can do our job in managing and overseeing the college. We do not get caught up in the day-to-day operations of decision-making. And I fear that if we continue to keep having this conversation over and over and over again, our creditors and everyone else are going to start going, what the hell's going on with this board? And excuse my language. But I think I just ask that we put on our governance fiduciary hats. We see what our role is as a board of education. We are not a city council. We are not, we're a policy governing board with an elected, with someone we hired who has extensive experience to run an institution as big as LCC. So can we approach this just a little differently? Because I'm starting to get really worried about our college and about our reputation and about the risk that this is putting on us as a board and on students and on everyone else. We need to put this to bed and modifying this policy so that it gives the board total control over how everything happens at the college, so that we start getting involved in the thousands of courses that are offered at LCC is the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve.
Just 2 quick points. One, just remind us that earlier this evening, right, the president asked us for support and focus this year and the next couple to get through what she predicts are turbulent times. I think we all generally agreed, right? And there was some stuff about more of, some things about less of. And I just encourage everybody to read that. Right now, we're doing exactly the opposite, right? We are distracting her from the very things that she said she needs to focus on in order to improve the bottom line in a range of ways at this institution. So let's please be reminded of that. If this conversation does need to continue, my request is that the next stage or phase of it be at a subsequent work session. And that we bring in some outside experts to give us some perspective. There are, whatever it is, 16 other colleges, community colleges in the state. Some of them, that we don't all operate the same. Some of them are in situations where they have, for better or worse, delegated much more of this kind of authority to their boards away from their presidents. And they may not be, they may have some things to share with us about that. There may be some other perspectives that we could benefit from besides our own. I do worry about the politicization and also, so anyways, I request that. And finally, I'll say for me, this does not feel like a conversation about student success. It feels like a conversation about control, and instead we should be focused on student success, and we should respect our various roles, which includes some trust and respect for the president, so that when we say we want X from the budget and she tells us what that translates to in terms of operations, we get an explanation. I totally agree. We need that. We need to understand that so we can explain it to ourselves and to folks that may ask us on the street. But we need to have that trust. We need to have that respective roles, and we need to allow the president to run the college.
All right. Next is our student representative, and I just have just one closing remark and potential next steps and final thoughts that unfortunately I was interrupted. But let's hear from President Hampton.
Hello, I apologize for being mostly silent during this. I had dental work done today, so I'm a bit woozy. But I am going to have to agree with Julie and Steve on this matter. I believe when a lot of it comes into the play of power. My question would be to the board, like, is it not okay to keep it running the same way it has been, with the president being mostly in power and just sort of bringing things to the president? I would just say that's something to consider.
Thank you so much. Yeah, and going back to a few points that I was making in regards to the community, the public, making sure that we're following equity lens, making sure that we are following different perspectives, the populations that are impacted by these decisions and programs and so forth, is very critical. Part of this is to have those conversations in open session with everybody. I would also state that, yes, there are other community colleges that operate in the same way. As a director at Klamath Community College, we voted to close programs, approve programs, and even pause programs. These were always a vote of the board and in collaboration with the president. And that's what we essentially want in this. And that's the main discussion point around this. I really appreciate, I know there feels like that there's like two sides, but I also heard a lot of commonality in language too. So I really want to just appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that we are having a discussion. I would have to argue, yes, there should be more of a discussion of how does this impact students, and how are we responsible and adhering to what we're hearing from our communities. And so, yeah, I think that's a part of a broader conversation, as well as different points that Kevin has brought up, Julie, Steve, Zach have all brought up. That I would love to see a further discussion of and gain more clarity of as well. So in that same spirit, I think further discussion and conversation would be beneficial, not only to this board, but to the broader community, especially as we see changes at the federal level, especially as we see changes at the state level and the changing world that's around us. So this conversation was very hopeful for me. I hope others can share in that as well. We are at time, unfortunately, with this topic. Let me get back to the agenda here. I apologize.
Austin, just a quick point of order clarification. I just want to be clear that you are committing to not bringing this as a motion at a meeting until we've had more discussion during work sessions.
I didn't say anything of the sort, did I?
I'm trying to get clear. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure what
Absolutely.
you're saying.
Oh, you don't? Okay. My apologies. I said the word discussion. I want to encourage discussion. There's no action item as a result of this discussion because I'm hearing more information that I would like to talk about this more. I don't want to be rushed. These were the different things that I heard, and I can infer from that is further discussion. Is that clear?
Yeah, I think so.
Steve?
Yep. So we will not see this on an action calendar until we've had more discussion in a work session.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure out how I can communicate more clearly. But yeah, I agree. So, all right. Yeah, and I apologize. Sometimes Zoom, like tone and so forth, can be missing. So I apologize about that for caregiving for my father and being on Zoom. I hope this is not a situation in the future, to be honest. Yeah. So we are now moving on to closing comments, which is board questions and comments. Any board questions and comments?
Yeah, Kevin.
Seeing none?
Yeah, Kevin.
Oh, Kevin. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Just wondering, thanks, Chair. I'm just wondering if Jesse's still hanging in with us. I know he's on Eastern time zone and it's kind of late. Jesse?
I am. I am here. I am. I've been up since 4 a.m. our Pacific time, so I'm hanging in there, but I am here and I appreciate you checking in, the welfare check on me.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you hanging in there. And second thing, just really quickly, the president wrote a very wonderful opinion article in the Eugene Weekly, the latest edition of the Eugene Weekly. And if you haven't read it, I encourage you to do so because it really is a clear, direct kind of clarion call of what Lane Community College needs to do and will do under the leadership of President Bulger. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
All right, Julie.
Zach.
Okay.
Julie's first.
Okay. Yep. Julie, Zach, anybody else? All right. Julie, go ahead.
So, got to bring up the ugly topics. One, during our censure conversations, we got a laundry list from our insurance company. So the attorney brought it up and that we always refer to them because of risk to our, they gave us 7 bullet points that we must abide by. Many of them applied to Trustee Mulholland. One of them was the board apology, public apology, and training, and some commitments to directing all communications to the president. If I remember everything correctly, I've put my notes away. So I have a question. One, does the board at this particular moment feel that we actually have satisfied the majority of those? I know that Shane's working to get us training, but all the rest of them, I know that I am deeply, excuse me?
Point of order.
That this should be discussed in executive session if it is discussed. Thank you.
No, this is part of the board report that was actually added. This particular information report and the list of all of it was actually handed out.
Yeah. So really briefly, yes, the document that has the list of things is a public document, so it can be discussed. I do have a partial answer to that. But Julie, I want to make sure that you,
Can I finish?
Julie.
I mean, I got the point of order, but I'd like to finish.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just responding to the point of order. And absolutely, I want you to have an opportunity to finish. That's what I was just about to say. My apologies. Go ahead.
So my inquiry to the board is whether or not we are satisfied that everything was satisfied, with the exception of the training. I am not satisfied with the public apology by the board. I can't even remember what was said. I've never seen a written copy of it. I've never seen any transcript of it, and I would like it to actually be redone. So I would like to formally request that. I'm just going to say that I'm still very dissatisfied with the treatment of our president, and that we still have a person on the board that editorials have asked for resignation, community members have asked that person to resign, and they're still on the board. So I just register my kind of complaint and concern that they're still on the board. And then finally, during this meeting, Vice Chair Rust interrupted multiple people while they spoke. I would like there to be, I told you this at the last meeting, I didn't spend my time point of ordering because I was on Zoom. It's really hard to actually interrupt a lot, but I did notice it. And I would ask that you all stop and wait until someone actually and say, even ask, but that it's problematic. We cannot talk over each other when we work in a public sessions. We are not sitting around a table where we can have these evolutionary conversations that are organic. We actually only have time to raise our hand, go around if we want to stay. So please respectfully stop interrupting, be very mindful of your own attempt to do it, and then catch yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Noted on the formal request, and we'll bring that back to the president, and vice chair. Just wanted to make sure I have everybody. Zach, thank you. Go ahead.
Just to say, I have a couple ideas for ways that we can hopefully help our leadership team with some leadership development and some additional team building among our group. So I'll be putting those recommendations forward, trying to bring those to a future meeting to try and figure out how we can try and work better together as a team and move forward in a positive way. And really appreciate everybody's time and energy tonight and this year.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Anything else? I have one item.
I have something on future meeting
round.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I just have one item in the board comments and questions. So one of the things that was brought up previously in both a board session and also discussion was in regards to legal support for the board itself. And based off also what I heard from our conversations today, asking legal questions, especially around board dynamics and so forth. I did ask as a preliminary to get a recommendation of board attorneys. So essentially board attorneys that represent boards, specifically local governments, and are very apt in understanding policy, legal stuff pertaining to boards and so forth. And I think that would be incredibly helpful. We used to have a board attorney as well as an institutional attorney as well, with a single individual. We've had explanation of why that hasn't been filled and so forth. And I would like to bring that up as a future discussion item. Obviously working with the president and with Vice Chair Russ to see where we could place that as a future discussion item. Like I said, there are some recommendations from the Oregon Bar that were given to me, and this is an opportunity to discuss if that's a route that we want to go as a board. If so, here are some potential recommendations. And so anyway, I'd love to bring that up as a future board discussion and opportunity. Oh, and additionally, we did also hear this from individuals in the community as well, both in public.
After them.
President Bulger and then Zach's in line.
I saw Jesse.
Yeah, I think.
But I haven't finished.
Okay, sorry. I interrupted again.
Okay.
I didn't mean
yeah, it's okay. Again, Zoom is difficult. I completely understand that. And so with that in mind, let's anyway, I just want to bring that up. And I will move on to Jesse. And then we'll move to President Bulger, and we will go ahead and move forward to future meetings. So, Jesse, go ahead.
I believe President Bulger was going to maybe make a comment based on what you had just said, and I think I would rather hear that before I make any comments on that piece. So
absolutely, please do. Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is I'd really like to have the board's questions about. Not sure if the topic is general counsel or something else, but I would really like to have the board's questions before I advise the board with respect to whatever your questions are. I need to see the questions so that I can properly advise the board. So if board members, if you want to do that individually, if you can send those questions to me, I would really appreciate that. Then I can help you sort through the next steps.
And just for clarification, President Bulger, would you then put that in response to information requests? This is more of a dynamic question than anything.
I would agree. I would not put it into responses to information requests. I am very, very unclear about what the board is interested in. And if I can get questions from board members, perhaps I can better understand that.
Okay. I mean, just as a dynamic thing, this is just an opportunity for board members to have questions and comments. Anyway, but I heard and understood, and look forward to having further conversations about that. Jesse.
Perfect. Thank you. And President Bulger, my building off of what the chair had just mentioned would really, my interest is in a parliamentarian, somebody who has a sincere, in-depth understanding of parliamentary Robert's Rules of Order. I don't do parliamentary procedure, but somebody who can really help ensure, and I think that goes along with what Trustee Weisman had just mentioned about trainings and these other dynamics that we talked about, understanding Robert's Rules of Order cheat sheets, these types of things that I think will help all of us run a smoother board meeting moving forward. And I think a parliamentarian council of sorts would also help with that. So that would be my question, I guess, and I'm happy to put that in writing if need be.
No, thank you. I will just jump in. Thank you so much for that. That's great clarification. I've actually been in touch with 3 professional parliamentarians. I had no idea this was actually a profession. And so I am actively looking for a parliamentarian to assist the board.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Zach?
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Zach.
I would just find it valuable to understand what all legal counsel we have representing us in what different scenarios and what hats they wear and who they report to. And that's probably an executive session discussion to learn about all of those things before, thinking about how anything should change. I would like a really good lay of the land with regards to our current representation and what might be missing, if there is anything that's missing.
Absolutely. And there was a request to view those contracts. I know that there's a change that has occurred recently with attorneys. So yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that there is an interest in understanding those contracts, so they understand representation dynamics, what type of questions we can ask them if they're pertaining to the board and so forth, as opposed to board, institution, laws, rules and regulations, and so forth. So I agree that is would be incredibly helpful for the board. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to future meeting dates. Our next
Chair Folnegi.
My apologies.
Oh, did you want to?
No, I was cutting in for you.
So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Go ahead, President Bulger.
So from the questions, I appreciate these questions. Certainly if you have others, then after this meeting, please let me know. Really does seem like this is operational, and I can send you an email to respond to these areas. But if the board is really interested in the attorneys that we have, if that's really the underlying question here, then please ask me about that question. I would really, really appreciate that. But these really sound operational to me. This has been my responsibility since I arrived at the institution. And so I think it's been going well, but if you have some concerns, then please let me know.
Yeah, Steve.
Go ahead, Steve.
Just very briefly, I just wanted to echo that for me, and I think you and I have talked about it, this is really for the benefit of the rest of the board, the missing piece for me with regard to, various legal support and advice that we have is, as Jesse just said, the parliamentarian. And I know you're working on that, but I just wanted to let the rest of the board know that I mentioned that to Stephanie as well, and I support exactly as Jesse kind of requested.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay, perfect. Waiting just for a moment for anything else before going to future meeting dates. And seeing none. Our next meeting is going to be our October meeting is in September, September 30th, 2025. That's our regular meeting. October 15th work session, and then November 5th regular meeting. Anything for the good of the order? Go ahead, Zach. This is future meeting dates. My apologies. Go ahead.
Future meeting dates. I'm just going to put out the red flag that in late April, in May, 2 of our board members are likely to have conflicts with the City of Eugene Budget Committee process. And I would ask that our leadership team reach out to the city manager. If there are opportunities to deconflict, I would appreciate looking at potentially deconflicting. If it's not possible, I totally understand. But if we can at least put out the feeler to see when are they planning on having their meetings, is there a way we can adjust our meetings by a half hour or move to a different night for a month? I'd appreciate at least looking at those options and providing those options to the board. Appreciate it.
Excellent. Heard and noted. And we have a future agenda setting meetings, and we also went through the full-fledged calendar of all the different things, including board trainings, budget committee, and so forth. So we will, in the next agenda setting meeting with the president and vice chair, we will get those in there. And have a discussion of those dates and continued conversation between the city and us. Thank you for that heads up. Anything else for future meeting dates? All right, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and I really appreciate the conversation today.